let's talk about some actual good content for a change. And I want to bring this up because I'm super excited about it. But we've got Razorfist, who basically killed it on his fundraising for his new upcoming graphic novel, Ghost of the Badlands. And basically, like, you raised like close to $250,000 on this Indigogo, and the link to the Indigogo is in the description if you guys want to check this out. I believe you can still get in on some of the early access bonuses and stuff like that. But this is kind of like almost like a Batman / Zorro type thing in the Arizona desert. Razorfist, can you tell us a little bit about this graphic novel of yours, and what was the inspiration behind it, and where do you see it going?
Yeah, it's I wanted to do a Western. The synopsis has been laying around for a while. I did the character sketch, God, like 2017, long time ago. It was one of those ideas that just sort of jolted me out of bed. And I've been watching a lot of the Clint Eastwood Angel of Death trilogy, stuff like Pale Rider and the High Plains Drifter.
So good.
That sort of stranger rides into town and sets all the wrongs right. You don't even know his name, that kind of thing. And I missed those kind of Westerns. We get a lot of revisionist Westerns. We get a lot of historical Westerns. We get a lot of 1883. And over the next year, I think that's going to be one of the next trends that Hollywood tries to throw at the wall and see if it sticks. They've already greenlit a shitload of big budget Westerns in Hollywood that aren't going to come out till the end of next year, and probably into 2024. I actually think this writer's strike may move that timetable up because a lot of those projects are already in the can. Right. So the movies are they're just in the editing process. So this is product they can release now while the writers are on strike. So you might actually see a little bit of an expedited version of this. But the Western is coming back. Right. You can just kind of feel it. Yellowstone, big hit, 1883. And the 1883 guy has now gone on to make a bunch of Western films. And there's been a bunch that have been greenlit. And so like Christian Bale was in one. And Martin Scorsese is making one. It's just across Hollywood. It's a big thing. I'm not seeing, though, this elemental Western. It's called a Gothic Western or a divine retribution Western. A strong biblical hellfire and brimstone undercurrent. And we took the idea of the ghostly protagonist to an even greater extreme, combined it with kind of elements of pulp heroes that I enjoy. Solomon Kane, kind of a Old Testament sort of vengeance and justice sort of character, a little bit of the Shadow with the idea that he's almost got sort of a network of people who are sort of working at his beck and call. He's the greatest mystery in his own story, the eponymous Ghost of the Badlands. And the emotional drive of the story is provided by a gunfighter, former veteran, who falls to banditry after the war and is a fallen creature, completely fallen creature, and has essentially a Paul on the road to Damascus moment where he's confronted with the consequences of his actions, and he it's like he has to cross over to the moment where if he pulls that trigger and kills that child, it's going to be the moment from which he can never return, and he can't do it. And when he lowers his gun, his compatriots raise theirs, and they go full Murphy from RoboCop. And right when he's about to breathe his last, we actually see this in the preview pages on the Indiegogo page. The shadow appears on the horizon, backlit by the moon, and begins dispensing hellfire and brimstone Bible verses. It's the only thing he speaks in, by the way. Appropriate hellfire and brimstone Bible verses. And then raises this funky German automatic pistol, a weapon of the old world, and goes to work. And this is really what's happening is we're following the redemption arc of this man who sort of makes the first good decision in his life in years. And through his eyes, we witness who the ghost is as he sets out to work in his service. So that's kind of the core idea.
This looks badass.
Yeah, I want to show some of the artwork on this. So these are some variant covers for the comic, but look at the actual like artwork that is involved in this. This looks absolutely amazing. Who's the artist that you got for this?
That is George Alexopoulos, the same guy who illustrated my recent pulp novella, Death Mask.
Cool.
He did a really good job on that, and we were both bitten hard by the Western bug. And so we were like, well, what the fuck? Why don't we just combine forces? So, and I think he's done a bang-up job. He's working away on it as we speak, I believe. Actually, I think there's a new update today. Or there will be one this weekend. I've been doing this consistent series of updates talking about the backstory of the Ghost of the Badlands. This is set in a real place, an Old West town, wilder than Tombstone, wilder than Deadwood, that no one talks about, called Canyon Diablo, Arizona. And if you watch the television show Hell on Wheels, Hell on Wheels, the title refers to the town that would follow the railroad as it was going along. And it was very appropriately named Hell on Wheels because it was Gomorrah, right? Prostitution and gambling and fist fights and just nightly murders and whatever. That's a Hell on Wheels town. It follows the railroad. Well, Canyon Diablo was a Hell on Wheels town that was following the railroad until they hit Canyon Diablo. And then they had to build a bridge, which took a long time. And it was a massive feat of engineering in the 1880s. And so it's a Hell on Wheels town that stayed put and festered in the middle of the desert and just got dirtier and darker and more corrupt and bloodier. And it got to the point where they swore in a sheriff at 3 o'clock and buried him by 8. Like they couldn't keep a sheriff in office in the town of Canyon Diablo. Pulp stories inevitably cropped up about this place, about how wild and lawless it was. And some have a note of truth to them. Some are just pure pulp fiction. There's, of course, like any Old West town, you have the people who are furthering the myth and the people who are debunking it. We're doing both. Massively important because I find real Old West is huge. West is huge. We're sort of marrying the two. So that's the background for this of Canyon Diablo. And it also helps that it's named after the devil and it's a big biblical story. So what the fuck?
Well, you've almost raised $250,000 for this thing.
Yeah.
And you've even got stretch goals going up to $500,000.
Which weren't there, might I add. We had to add those. We didn't think we were going to hit 100K. And then we hit it in like fucking a couple of days.
Yeah. Are you surprised at the outpouring of support that you got for this?
Yes, I think we were surprised on 2 fronts. Like, I didn't know. I think we underestimated how much people wanted comics that aren't describedly woke and ideological, and also that have kind of a aesthetically are not the same as the standard Marvel Drek, right? With the computer colors and the blah, right? And I also think we underestimated how starved the public was for a good Western like this. I think that those 2 things we sort of underestimated. And interestingly enough, we're kind of right at the head of, like, the wave hasn't even crested for Westerns yet. It's about to crash pretty soon here. It should be interesting when it happens, but I'm really fascinated. As cool as it is that we've raised this much, we're not even really in the heart of the Western wave. I'm curious what's going to happen when it actually releases, if people are actually going to talk about it after that, because that would be more interesting and cool to me. You know what I mean? Because once it's out there and people can see the artwork and have it in their own hands, I think they're going to dig it. And also, you can get a preview if you'd like in Anvil, the Iron Age magazine. Those preview pages and a little bit more are going to be in that. You can have physical copies before we actually go to print.
Cool.
So he's going to have it in Anvil.
That is very cool. Your initial goal was just $50,000. Last week we had Ethan Van Sciver on the show, who's kind of like the godfather of Comicsgate, which is the independent publisher movement for comic books. Did you get any support from the Comicsgate people for this?
We haven't been on with them or anything, but they're great people. And Ethan Van Sciver, I think Ethan's always had kind of an open invite for us. So maybe we'll have to swing by there and talk with them. But I'm always willing to have Ethan on my podcast. I think he's a great fucking dude. We've been on podcasts together a bunch of times. We just haven't done it yet. But yeah, I'm loving what they're doing with the Comicsgate stuff. I've dubbed sort of this era, I don't consider it a movement. I just consider it a name for the era, the Iron Age, because that's kind of what this is. It's sort of just, there's a zeitgeist going on with independent creativity, with sort of grassroots success that already was sort of built, or like a grassroots audience that was sort of built over years, whether using YouTube or social media or whatever you sort of build. There's a lot of people who fit that description, whether it's Eric July or Ethan Van Sciver or whatever. This is clearly something that's happening, and it's not just in comics. I've been doing it in pulps for a while, sort of bringing back a dead format while selling a lot of copies of this kind of funky novella thing, and this is kind of a natural progression from that.
So I wanted to let everyone know in the chat that we've been doing giveaways lately, and we're going to be giving away a $25 soft cover version of Ghost of the Badlands. And in order to basically enter that, basically you just need to type in the chat, hashtag fuck you, I was right. We're going to be doing a giveaway at the end of the stream. So if you want to be entered into that, hashtag fuck you, I was right, just in the chat, and you'll be automatically entered, and we're going to do a random drawing when we're ready to wrap this up. Razorfist.
Hey guys, if you like this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and comment below on your favorite video as well. That goes a long way with helping us boost our channel and get out there in front of more people, and it lets YouTube know that we're doing something right. And if you want to catch us live, we go live 2 times a week, once on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Pacific time and on Tuesdays at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. So join us there in the chat. We will see you on the live stream. Stay salty.